Namaste. Welcome to Sipping on Stories podcast. I'm your host 𝙎𝙤𝙣𝙑, and this is where we welcome women healers and spiritual leaders from all around the world to come and share their journeys and their experiences. Thank you so much, everyone, for showing lots of love to our podcast episodes. And if you're new to this channel, welcome. Please like and subscribe to this channel so we can continue spreading some love. Thank you. Namaste, Vanessa. Welcome to Sipping on Stories podcast. I am so happy to have you here today. First of all, tell us where you're joining us from and the choice of beverage you've got with you today.
So I'm joining from Melbourne. So it's a nice and sunny 30 degrees today. And I have a glass of water with me, some nice cool water with some lemon in it, actually.
Oh, I like it. I love it. Cheers. Yeah, perfect.
Cheers.
For a hot day. Yeah. Great. Why don't you actually tell us first what is that you love about the city you live in? Why do you like Melbourne? And we'll just kind of get into it.
Yeah, of course. I love Melbourne because it's so diverse. It's so cultural. There is so many things going on. We have festivals, we have musical theatre, we have bands, we have, light shows on the Yarra River, which is a main river that runs throughout the CBD. And then you go into the outer suburbs, you have your cute little wine bars and your charcuterie, places where you can just have like little deli meats and things like that. And then you've got like more bars and cocktail bars, and it's just kind of something for everyone, I think.
Yeah.
And that's why I love it so much. There's so much to do. And if you're into sports, it's big sporting capital of Australia, I think. We have, golf, we have cricket, we have tennis coming up this summer at the moment. We have football, we have the grand final. So it's all happening in Melbourne, I feel.
Yeah, people I talk to have mixed emotions about Melbourne, and I generally ask if I do meet people from Melbourne, I'm like, what is that you love about the city? Because I feel the same way as well.
Yeah.
And there's some vibe to the city, I think. I've lived in various cities, but Melbourne has been my favorite up until now. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Awesome. So Vanessa, we'll just get started into you telling us what is that you do and what is tell us about your work. And we would also love to talk about a few things and dive deeper into more deeper questions that we have for you today. And hopefully, I'm hoping that our listeners can take away from this episode today.
Yeah, of course. So I'm the corporate entrepreneur, you could say. So I have a corporate job where I support an executive team, but that's not my passion. That's, something for me that does pay the bills. There are elements that I love about it. But for me, I started a podcast because I wanted to share value and my stories about dating and my experiences with single women. I've gone to the more holistic spiritual path in my life, which, was the catalyst from, the dating experiences that I had. And it was a way to share that with other women. So I do meditation circles. I'm a Reiki practitioner, currently not practicing. I'm trying to find another room, which I'm manifesting. But I want to do that again because of the healing that it does instill with people. And also I'm actually doing a vision board workshop with a Facebook group next month. So I'm going to be facilitating and hosting that with a friend who will be doing some sound healing. I'll be doing a meditation and facilitating that. I also have an online business in affiliate marketing, which, helps, financially to get that financial independence happening. So there is a bit that I do, there really is, but I feel I live a full, busy, definitely life, but full and something that really lights me up.
That's amazing. And I love the word corporate entrepreneur. I think never heard that one before. It's a new one going in right into my dictionary. Okay.
I just made it up. I made it up because it's like, I don't know how to really describe, well, that's what I do. That's my main job. But what I'm passionate about and what people find they want to do as hobbies and turn into like a little business and to grow that, like you are an entrepreneur and you are learning skills of entrepreneurship to build that up. So it's like corporate entrepreneur. I made it up.
I love it. I love it. And it's so important that you follow your passion and just not get stuck into, a dead-end job. I mean, of course, it's paying the bills, as you said, but we always need to find time to follow our passion and just let the creativity express itself. And I think it's so important for women, especially, I think, so important, because we are creative beings by nature, I think, and we need to express this more and more. So, thank you for sharing that. And that is actually very deep in itself. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I think, Vanessa, we're here to kind of talk more about dating and a lot of experiences you've had personally or with your clients. So I was very excited before this podcast that I'm like, what are all the questions I'm going to ask Vanessa? Because we've all been through this. We've all done dating in our life at some point or the other. And you can never get it right. And people often kind of, I have kind of met people who have tried it a number of times, but they kind of don't find what they're looking for, which causes, depression. They start thinking less about themselves, and so much more. It's very difficult to have a positive attitude when you're in that kind of space, I think. So with that, I would love for you to kind of open with or sharing a pivotal moment in your life when you actually realize the importance of self-worth. I think self-worth is very important when it comes to the dating kind of life, and just kind of share with us.
Yeah, of course. I think, self-worth is underpinning in anything in life, and particularly with dating and relationships and finding the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with. I think it's a very big foundation to that. For me, it was a long journey. And what kind of shifted that pivotal moment for me, I was ghosted in 2019 on Christmas Eve. And I was seeing this guy for a few months, and I thought it was all going okay. There wasn't any really red flags that kind of came about. And then leading up to Christmas, he was really busy, and I'm like, yep, okay, cool. And then we made plans to watch Carols by Candlelight, which is one of my favorite things to do. It's tradition for me. I always watch it on TV on Christmas Eve. And I didn't hear from him throughout the whole day. And I'm wondering if he's okay, if he had an accident on a job site. And I'm like, oh no. And I've tried calling him, went straight to voicemail. And I'm like, what's happening here? And I had never had any bad experiences as such. It was mostly like, okay, we're not feeling the connection. It was a mutual, that's it, we're done. Or I would say, look, you're not what I'm looking for. I'm sorry, I wish you all the best. Yeah. I'd never experienced anything like this that a lot of other people did.
Yeah.
And I didn't even really know what it was. And so that happened, Christmas of 2019. And then when I realized I had been ghosted, it was Christmas Day, and I had to pretend to my family that everything was okay, right? And I think that was the hardest part, because it's like you wanted to be really excited to share that, this is a really new, early stages of dating. Things were going well. It might lead into something more, but then you were just ghosted the night before. Like, how do you front to your family like that?
Yeah.
So I had told my mum in the morning, and to be honest with you, I brought a bottle of vodka to her home, and I was doing vodka shots with my mum, Christmas morning. And I talk about this in a podcast episode about dating. So I share more of the story there. But then after that, I moved out of a share home in January and moved back into mum's home, and then COVID hit, right? So this was March 2020 at this time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, a lot happened during that time. But I was like, why do I keep choosing these particular men? Because it wasn't a pattern of ghosting as such, but it was always very avoidant men. So inconsistent texting, hot and coldness. And I found out through me learning about myself, about relationships and human behavior, I was anxious attachment, and he would have been avoidant.
Wow.
And my need to always hear from him, where is he, all this or that, was coming from somewhere a lot deeper, right? And I listened to other podcasts from psychologists, psychiatrists, all of the ones, even the funny ones. And I'm like, you know what? I wanted to create something where I shared my stories, where women didn't feel alone, because I knew I wasn't the only one going through that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the more that I share about it, women may not feel so ashamed, embarrassed, or disappointed.
Yeah.
And to know that it's not a reflection on you, it's a reflection on them and their way to communicate and what they're avoiding,
Yeah.
right? And so that's when the idea to create the podcast was born. But then moving forward from that, I feel I've done a whole lot of healing, a lot of self-reflection. And during that time, which has been a couple of years, well, 4 years really. And then I'm like, okay, this is now what I'm ready for. This is what I'm desiring in a partner. And I'm quite spiritual. And so when I had said this to the universe, this is the type of man I'm manifesting.
Yeah.
The universe gave me another lesson in the an emotionally unavailable fuckboy type of guy. And it's like, okay, we're going to present this man to you here. What are you going to do? And that was the other pivotal moment. And this is what's happened recently, which I will be doing a podcast episode about it to go in more detail.
Yeah.
But it was, and I was working with a coach, 𝙃𝙤𝙨𝙩, at the time. And it was about, this man, he was exciting, he was intense, he was very attractive, tattoos, drove a really good car. And it fed that little inner child in me that really, oh, this is really good attention. But then I'm like, as an adult, Vanessa, I'm like, no, like he only wants you for one thing. You want more than this. Like
Yeah.
you have a choice here, right? And that was only a few months ago. And it was about using my voice, setting boundaries, knowing my worth, displaying my worth, because you can know your worth.
Yeah.
But when you get confronted with certain situations where you have to say, no, that's not for me, it's not in alignment, I don't want to entertain that.
Yeah.
It takes courage to do that.
Mm.
And you need to really believe that you're worthy of something so much more than the breadcrumbs or the hot and cold guy or the fuck boy, right?
Yeah.
And that for me has happened recently. So I would say, in answer to your question, those would be the two pivotal moments for me to date. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. I think I love open conversations, and I love when it comes from heart, comes from personal experiences. And I can relate, heartbreak. I feel we go through it at some stage or the other. I have gone through it a few times myself, and I understand what you would have gone through. And,
Mm.
it's really, it makes me happy to see, Vanessa, that we were able to kind of segregate those things and look for answers and go deep, so you can attract better partners, or to even understand yourself, like, oh my God, where am I going wrong? But I feel like in that moment, a lot of women go into blaming themselves, or kind of taking out faults within themselves. Oh, maybe I am this, maybe I am that. But that's not the truth always. So I hope this kind of gives a little encouragement and motivation for people to kind of look within. And just not for women, for men too. I'm pretty sure a lot of men out there
Definitely.
go through the same thing.
Yep.
So what do you believe is the biggest misconception about confidence, especially for single women?
I think it would be that it only certain women who look a certain way, who are the right body shape, who wear certain clothes, are confident. It's like it happens for other people, but not for me. They're confident because they have this job. They're confident because they drive that car. They're confident because they're a size 8, they're a size 10, whatever the size will be, right? And that is completely not the case. That is all external, right? So, like, your confidence will come from within, from being true to you, being authentic to yourself, and really loving yourself and showing yourself grace and kindness first. Because I can tell you that I'm not a size 8, I'm a size 14, right? Like, I don't have, the blonde hair, the long curls, and all that stuff. That's not me. I don't drive a fancy BMW or a Mercedes, but people look at me and be like, "You're so confident." I'm intimidated by you sometimes. Like, I had someone say to me that when I first met you, like, I was really intimidated by you. And I'm like, why? Like, I'm just like you, right? But it's like the qualities that you exude, like, and that we can really over time, depending on relationships, dating, parents even, they can really diminish that. They can really tell you that you're not worthy. They can really tell you that you're not enough.
Mm.
But when you do the work on yourself and you know that you are and you believe that you are, that comes through. And that is what I believe is confidence. Like
Yeah.
when you can use your voice. Like for
Mm.
me, it was about, I had a stutter when I was a kid and I just didn't talk because if I spoke, if I said anything, if B word, or if I said, do you want this? Or because I would always stutter, right? And I didn't say anything. And that was holding my voice back for so many years.
Mm.
And when I realized it was safe to actually speak, when I could speak and I had a voice, and yes, it takes time, and this doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
I got that confidence. And now I host a podcast, right? So who would have thought someone who stuttered now has a podcast and uses her voice to share her experiences when
Yeah.
she didn't speak when she was young? She was shy, right?
And look at her now.
Exactly. Like you get me talking, and if I know it's going to help someone, I will share it, right?
Mm. Mm.
Um, but yeah, I think confidence will come from within. It's not external because I can probably guarantee you that every person who has that external glamour about themselves is very hurt and is hiding something inside. That's a
Mm.
facade, right?
Mm.
So if
Yeah.
you can genuinely be happy within yourself and accept you and love yourself, I think that's where the inner confidence will come from.
Yeah, I love that. And, as you were taking me through that, and I feel like, self-worth and confidence, of course, are linked because when you start realizing who you are and you're worthy, your self-worth, that confidence automatically kicks in as well.
Mm-hmm. It definitely does because you know what you want, you know what you're
Mm.
deserving of.
Yeah,
Like in this world, we can have anything we want, right? But we
yeah,
just think, oh, it's only those people that can have that. But no,
yeah.
you're the same.
Mm.
You're literally the same. You have the same
Yeah.
organs, the same brain. You're made up of the same things. There's
Same
nothing different between you
emotions.
and them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mm.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I think the next thing I wanted to ask you is what does freedom mean to you in the context of being single? And how do you encourage your clients or others to find it?
Um, living your life because in society, and what I mean by that is so in society, we have the societal norms that we
Mm.
are told that we have to abide by, adhere to. And it's, going to school, going to uni, being in a relationship, get engaged, have children, get married, in that kind of order. And that's your life, right?
Mm.
But that doesn't happen for everyone, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. And knowing that that is okay, because the questions that people will ask you are like, oh, why are you still single? Oh,
Mm.
what happened in that relationship? It's never, oh, where are you traveling this year? What promotions have you got at work? What hobbies have you started? I see you doing this on social media. That looks great. It's always around children. It's always around marriage. It's always around engagements and relationships, right?
Mm.
And I feel to be truly free is to know, again, go within, be authentic to you, find out who you really are, what you really love doing, and just go do it.
Mm.
And whether that be starting a business, turning a side hustle into a business,
Yeah.
it's traveling, it's picking up different hobbies, volunteering, doing whatever. Because if you're single and you think freedom is being in a relationship, if
Mm.
you talk to anyone who's in a relationship and in a marriage, they want your life. They want to be free, right? And free means something different to everyone,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Um, and I just feel that, freedom is different for people, but also as a single woman, it's not waiting at home for a man to knock on your door.
Mm.
It's not going to happen, right? So you have to live your life, be financially independent, find ways to do that.
Yeah.
And you will be guaranteed to meet people along the way who are like-minded people, right?
Yeah.
You might even meet your future partner then. You
Yeah.
don't know. But you really have to put yourself out there and live the life that you want to live without thinking, oh, I'll meet my partner if I do this or when I
Mm.
do that. You know, it's not really the
Yeah.
case. It's
Yeah.
just doing things for you, what lights you up.
Yeah.
And I think that is what freedom means, like for
Mm.
me as a single woman.
Yeah, and it totally makes sense because I have, kind of embraced some elements of that myself. when I went through a heartbreak, and
Mm.
I was like, oh my God, have this kind of phases you go through, like, oh my God, betrayal, and then you go acceptance, and then it comes like, oh, I need to stand up on my own feet. I need to do this to, love myself and really work on myself and become a better person. So I totally relate to it. And I kind of feel that when you start working on yourself, and listening to yourself and becoming independent, things that you're going to attract better things if you're going to love yourself more. And it just happens, I guess. That's the kind of nature of it, the whole, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've experienced that, and I could definitely connect and resonate to what you're saying.
Yep.
Amazing. And what is some of the very crucial or very hard thing that maybe your clients have expressed to you in the dating life? So what it comes to, like, because it's kind of easy when you're young, maybe in your 20s, you go out, dating is different in your 30s and 40s, and it's very different in every age group. So what is something that you found common, maybe, that is, you go like, this is the thing at any age, that you kind of come across? So what is that, and how do you kind of help people navigate through it? Or it can
Mm.
be different for any age group as well. That's fine.
Yeah, definitely. And look, we all know that dating has changed over the years, right?
Mm,
So we now have like 20-year-olds on dating apps trying to find love, right? And I think that just goes to show how disconnected we actually are. Like in a
mm,
world that we want to be connected, we are actually all disconnected. Like we're now turning to our phones to connect with someone, to slide into someone's DMs, or to go onto an app and just swipe, swipe, swipe continuously to feed, the dopamine hit that we need. And that's essentially what it is. It's like the addiction to, oh, who's next? Who's next? Who's next? Right. And even when you're with someone, it's like, oh, what else might be out there? It's that addiction. That's
mm.
probably a whole new different like series, right, that we could talk about. Um,
Definitely.
but I think that leads into the ghosting, the lack of communication, the inconsistency that people do find in dating. And over time, a lot of women have expressed that it's hard because you're in the initial talking stages, but there isn't, oh, like, oh, would you like me to take you out for dinner? Right? It's like, come over to my house, I'll cook for you.
Mm,
Like, well, that's no. Like you want, as a female, and I'm talking about females here, not males, but it's
yeah.
like you want to be taken out.
Yeah.
You want to be respected. It's not come over to my house or are
Mm,
you up? Those kind of messages. And there's a lot of disrespect, I think, with that. And that's what impacts how women feel about themselves. It's like, is
uh,
that all I'm worth? Like,
yeah.
why won't a man take me out? Like, am I not pretty enough? And that's when people will spiral, right?
Yeah.
But again, it's like if we go back to what we spoke about initially, the self-worth and confidence, knowing and also knowing your boundaries and your deal breakers.
Mm,
Um, I think that's really important too, which is what I'm actually doing an ebook at the moment, which will go through all of this. So women can write down what their standards in dating are and what their deal breakers are.
mm,
Because, what you're saying is I want to be taken out, for dinner for the
yeah.
first date, not being invited to someone's home, because that's a red flag for me.
Mm,
And there's safety issues involved in that too. Why would you go to a stranger's home, right?
yeah. Yeah.
So I think going back to your initial question was, yes, it's the lack of communication, the inconsistency, and women creating the narrative and the story about what it means, and it means about them. And it's the complete opposite. That's where we
Yeah.
have to really reframe that. So,
Mm,
you're deserving of all your desire, like creating affirmations about what you want, that you're deserving, that you're worthy, and
mm,
reframing that. Because men who approach women to say, are you up? Where do you live? All of that stuff straight away.
yeah.
It's like, you're worth more than that. Like, you
Mm,
deserve someone to take you out for dinner,
yeah.
right? You deserve someone to take you to, I don't know, for a walk and a coffee, or have a nice picnic in a park,
Mm,
you know, and that's what really disappoints, no, not disappoints, but more it's deflating
yeah.
for women at the moment, I
Mm,
feel, and that's what I see.
yeah. Yeah. I can see how it can be putting off. I understand that. And I think men listening to this make notes. And I feel like,
Definitely
yes,
take her out for dinner. It's not that hard. There's so many places in Melbourne.
exactly. I agree. And I think what we kind of seek is the respect. I totally agree. Be a gentleman. That's what we want, respect the women. And I think it totally makes sense because if not, you're just gonna get put off with that whole attitude and be like, nah, I
Mm.
don't want to kind of pursue this. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what, and another thing that I wanted to add there was that, people are connecting more online than in person. So
Mm.
if you go to the shops, people are becoming more increasingly rude, or they're not smiling, not saying hello, good morning, anything like that, because
Yes.
we're always on our phones and on our screen, right? And I give it all credit, like it's a really good way to connect with people,
Mm.
but then it's like actually meet in real life. Like, where have those social interpersonal skills gone, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if I'm waiting for a coffee, I won't be on my phone. I'll be looking up because
Mm.
a man that I'm attracted to might be there. And maybe I want to give him a smile and invite him to come over
Yeah.
and saying, oh, hey, how's your day looking? Or how's your day been if it's an afternoon coffee? Something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Mm. Mm.
Like, we've
Absolutely.
lost the ability to connect face to face.
Yes,
So,
I agree. I'm a 90s kid and I grew up watching a lot of Bollywood movies.
yeah.
So my origin is from India. And I will always think that, one day the person I meet will be very kind of Bollywood style. We're just going to be somewhere in a restaurant or a cafe. We're just going to bump into each other and we're going to exchange a smile or two and a conversation and we're going to fall in love, the first sight, love at first sight and things like that. But,
Mhm.
and and then when I see the generation today, and it's like everyone's on their phone, as you said, no one wants to talk to each other, and people have become extremely rude. And maybe you saw, I was just nodding my head away, and I'm like, yes, I see that too. And I'm like, what's happening to people? But
Yeah, exactly.
it's just crazy. But in this day and age, I think I have met my partner online, so I'm like, I did not have my Bollywood fantasy dream, I did not live that. But I just wish that people were more less into their devices when they're out and having fun and
Mm.
talk to people and be nice. So I guess that's thank you for sharing that and bringing that out. That's totally how I feel, and I'm sure a
Oh,
lot
you're
of people
welcome.
out there feeling the same.
Yeah,
um
hopefully it will encourage people to not look at their screen too often when they're out.
Yeah, there might be a pretty woman around you, or just handsome men. Just look around.
That's right. Exactly. And if she
Yeah,
smiles, it's an invitation to say hello at least. Like,
yeah,
don't be
yeah,
scared. It's okay.
yeah.
We don't bite.
Oh my God. This kind of brings up a very funny story that I would like to share. If that's okay. Is
Of
uh,
course.
given in this day and age where we all use our devices. When I was living back in Brisbane, I had a couple of friends group who were Indians as well. So we had gone out to have dinner together, and one of my friends found this the one of the staff working in the restaurant very pretty, and he did not hesitate from writing her a note on the serviette, and he
Oh.
handed over with his number, and he went to that particular restaurant again and again to make some efforts to see if she would be interested in him. And I think that's the kind of that's what we're missing. There's so much, like, you have a story to tell. There is so much more. A woman feels like, oh my God, he's really pursuing me in a true sense. He's just
Mm.
not being just playing or whatever. And I really appreciated that because nobody does that. And I was like, oh,
Mm.
that's good. I wish this everyone were like this,
Yeah.
and it happened more often. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
think so too. And it takes a lot of courage to do that. Like,
yeah.
I acknowledge, him for doing that and applaud him for that because, there is a lot of fear of rejection that goes around at the
Mm.
moment.
Yeah.
And it's like the whole thing about shooting your shot. Like, you never know what can happen, but just do it. And if you get rejected, that's okay. Just brush it off and you'll be okay. Like, no one ever died from being rejected from a girl or a guy,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
Just shake it off and move on. But don't let that deter you from doing really sweet things like that, where she would appreciate that. And I bet, if on their when they get married, that might be part of the speech. Oh, this is how he wrote me a note and I thought it was really lovely. And
Yeah.
like, it's like, yeah, it's beautiful. And I think those little things have gone because of the fear of
Mm.
rejection, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. The end of story, he was rejected anyway, but as you said, he brushed off and moved on anyway.
Exactly. And that's what I mean. But she remembers that,
Yeah, yeah,
and she shares that. But for him, like, good on him for doing that, because it takes courage.
yeah,
And he saw something that he liked and he went for it. Like, he
yeah.
pursued her.
Yes, yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. I think we all should, have that kind of spirit and really go for it. If you just express yourself and how you feel about the other person, just tell them.
Hmm.
Awesome.
Exactly.
I think I also want to talk about independence, Vanessa, when it comes to dating. So, how can women balance the desire for independence, with the longing of, connection and partnership?
That's a really good question. And I feel it's like we have that hope. So, like you just said, the Bollywood movies that you watch, the Disney movies, like, we all want to find that prince. We all want to have that happy ending and that fairy tale how we meet someone.
Yeah.
But not all the time that's reality, right?
Mm.
And it's like, well, I want that, but then I have to live this life and go to work and do all the things and come home. And you are independent. Like, there is a lot of independent women around. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think the thing is to, for me, like, have your own interests that you want to do. So when you are at home, you're not just sitting on the couch, hope and reminiscing about, oh, I don't have this, or I don't have that, or I want this and I want that, but I don't. It's like that energy of lack, right?
Mhm.
And it's a very low vibration. And
Mhm.
when you're in that low vibration, you're not going to attract anything, right? You're not going to attract anything in a high vibration that you're going to want for yourself or what you're desiring.
Yeah.
So it's always about doing things that you really enjoy, what light you up, whatever that will be for different people.
Mm.
Um, Planning your next holiday, having that to look forward to,
Yeah.
going inward, doing some healing work, right? So if you've noticed in your life, like I did, there was a lot of repeating patterns with the men that I was choosing.
Mm.
I was like, okay, if it's a repeating pattern, what can I learn from this? How am I contributing to it? And that can be a really hard question to ask yourself. Like, how are you contributing to this? Like,
Mm.
why do I keep choosing this person? Right?
Yeah.
It's like, I saw this quote recently, and it's like, you're an attractive woman. Like, people will be attracted to you, but
Yeah.
you're choosing the wrong person. So I
Mm.
was like, wow. And I was like, well, yeah, like, I'm choosing, there's a whole line of men, for example,
Yeah.
and, you're choosing this one who's exciting, who's, hot and cold, because it feeds that little child, the
Mm.
attention that you're craving. Um, but yeah, going inward is very, very confronting,
Mm.
but really worthwhile.
Yeah.
Also, reflecting on the lessons and what you've learned from previous relationships. I think that's also, something that people can do in that time where they're, that singlehood, but also finding out what your love language is. And this is what I love. So finding out what your love languages are,
Yeah.
and then giving that to yourself, right?
Mm.
So if your love language is acts of service, then it's like, okay, what can I do for myself to make me feel good? If
Mm.
yours is physical touch, okay, I'm going to book myself in to get a massage or something like that to show yourself that love,
Mm.
and receive that for yourself. So there are many things that women can do while they're
Mm.
in that stage of, where is he, or where is she? It's just like, be there for yourself. Show yourself that kindness and compassion. Show yourself the love how you want to receive it,
Yeah.
and then do things that light you up. I think that's what would be my advice for that
Mm.
question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you for sharing it. And what do you think is the most powerful way women can actually reconnect with themselves after, a breakup? Because, we
Yeah.
all go through this and we, of course, have, found our way into things. And I know it's so hard to kind of go through it, but from your experience or from your clients' experiences, so what do you think can help women going through heartbreak?
Yeah. First thing would be, get your friends to support you, whether it be with wine, chocolate, ice cream, whatever you need initially, like whatever soothes you, like, do that,
Mm.
right? Get your best friends over, have a dance, have a cry, release, do what you need to do. that was the first thing that came to mind. Like me, when I got ghosted, I was over at my mum's house Christmas morning doing vodka shots. Like that's probably unhealthy, but at the same time, it's like, you know what, that's what I felt that I needed in that moment, right? And I'm not hard on myself for that, right? So whatever you need initially, do that. Then also, I think you'd go into the reflective stage about
Mm.
what lessons you learned, right?
Yeah.
What did you gain from the experience? Because
Mm.
nothing is ever given to you for no reason, good or bad, right? And it's reframing what a situation means to you,
Mm.
right? So you can create the story and the narrative of that, oh, you know, again, it must be me, I'm unattractive, and spiral into all these self-hate, you know, things, and you make yourself believe it.
Yeah.
Or you can be like, okay, what did I learn from this? What has this shown me? I'm grateful for this experience. I'm grateful for this man or woman because we went to try new restaurants. We traveled to this country I would probably not have gone to without that person. And we had a great experience there. Or I found this new interest and this new hobby that this person introduced me to.
Mm.
It's really going back to find the good in the bad. And
Yeah.
again, I can understand that it can be really difficult.
Yeah.
But when you get into the mindset of knowing that you are spiraling like in self-hatred, unworthiness, I wasn't enough, what did I do wrong, da da da, bring
Mm.
yourself back out of it and be
Yeah.
like, okay, what did I learn from this experience?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what did I contribute? You know,
Mm.
was I closed off? Was I, you know, nagging that person or something? I don't know what it is, but,
Mm.
you know, what can you do better for the next person? Like,
Yeah.
reflect back on you. And that doesn't take away so that it's all your fault. It's like, well, what can I do better next time?
Mm.
And it's that real big self-reflection piece where you will
Yeah.
grow,
Mm.
you'll you know, your personal, you go into inwards, personal development. And then for the next person, it's like, oh, here we are. I've learned from that.
Yeah.
So I
Mm.
think that's probably a powerful way women can reconnect with themselves, because then you're going inward.
Yeah.
You're finding also what you liked, what you didn't like. Do you know
Mm.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what you compromised on, what you should have said no to when you said yes, all of
Mm.
that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's part of the growth in the experience.
Yeah.
And that also builds your worthiness up and then your confidence.
Very powerful stuff. Thank you. And as we were talking through our conversations, Vanessa, I understand, you've also kind of tipped into a lot of healing modalities that you kind of incorporate within with as you go through and coach women, or single women, I should say, and or apply that to your own life. And how, and with the way you're kind of bringing and presenting everything shows, tells us that it's not superficial. You've gone deeper and deeper, with these things. And that could not have come through maybe if you were not into the energy healing and understand it from a different perspective and see it from a different lens. So I would, the answer is kind of there, but I still want to ask you that how spirituality has, shaped your approach to empowering single women.
Yeah. So the understanding that we're all energy, right?
Mm.
And for me, it's like I'm, you know, spiritual. I believe universe, manifestations and frequencies and things like that. And when I learned about that, which was a few years ago, from that pivotal event where I was ghosted,
Mm.
it set me on that spiritual journey, was that enlightenment. And it's like attracts like, right? It's just energy, right? So if you're saying that you want a man or a woman who is kind, right?
Yeah.
Are you kind?
Mm.
Because if you're not kind, you won't be attracting that,
Yeah.
right? Like attracts like. And
Mm.
if you're sitting in a low vibrational energy of frustration, anger, disappointment, guilt, that's what you're going to attract, right? What you think about yourself is you're going to attract people who think that about you. Insert the fuckboy analogy, right? It's
Mm.
like they're going to see you differently because you don't see yourself as a high value woman, right?
Yeah.
They don't see you as worthy, right? Because you're going to be like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you're going to sleep with them on the first date. And if that's what women want, totally go ahead for it. I'm not shaming that, right?
Yeah.
But if you want someone who is a high value man, you're
Mm.
going to have to become that high value woman, right? And that's where the energetics come into it. right?
Mm-hmm.
Same as for manifestation. If you want to manifest anything, you have to believe it's already yours. You have to believe it's worthy. You have to speak a certain way, affirm that it's yours, affirm that it's done, and then leave the rest up to the universe. But also when it came to, for me, for a healing perspective, Reiki, I think I owe a lot to Reiki for that. And again, it was a strange calling that I had years ago for Reiki. And then I'm like, oh, I want to be attuned for Reiki. And then that also shifted things in my life a lot at the time. But then when I've been emotional, when I've been anxious and stressed and thinking, why is this happening to me? Why can't I get my partner? All of this stuff. When I'm in those moments, how I soothe myself would be with Reiki. And I think that also kind of connects me to my higher self to know that it's okay. Like I'm re-inspired or comforted in that moment. And even other modalities like breath work moves also stagnant energy around too. So I'll always do like a Reiki, meditation, or breath work. Sometimes maybe all three, but Reiki is like daily for me. And usually before I go to bed. Because I think that helps that heal, and that whole big ego death that happened for me this year. When I worked with that coach, I really needed that energy to kind of help move through, and Reiki did that for me. So I think that spirituality, those modalities do really have helped me in my healing, definitely.
It's, when you said like attracts like, and it started me thinking, I was thinking along, maybe a couple who have in a long committed relationship, or they're married, sometimes marriages fall apart and they go into divorces and stuff like that. Maybe I would imagine it's because maybe one or the other person has started kind of evolving, and or a lot of things have changed in the life and they're not like to like anymore. Is that what you have kind of experienced or seen? And with that, where I also want to take my question is, have you had any clients who have probably, had a divorce after a long marriage, especially, and they want to get back into dating, and they've kind of been closed off all these years, and they haven't been dating, and they just kind of devoted their life to this marriage, to that one person. So how do they kind of navigate, or how do you help them navigate through it?
So look, for me, I haven't worked with any one who's been in long-term relationships, marriages, or divorced. It's more single women or women in dating. But I think I can imagine I think you hit the nail on the head when you were asking your question about how one evolves, right? So either the male or female, one will evolve. They'll open their awareness to something different, and their vibration is already shifting higher. And they're changing as a person. It's just what happens. But then the other partner is like, who is this person? I don't know this person anymore. Like, why are they changing? Like, why are they into meditation? Why are they being more nicer when they go out? Or why are they doing this, right? And that becomes a different level of vibration right there. But then if you think like in terms of relationships with children, the attention is taken away from the partner and it's focused on the children. So how can two people who are in a marriage or long-term relationship really maintain, not the honeymoon period or that dating period, but really still be there for each other? And I feel it comes back to that open communication. So like for me in the man that I'm desiring, we talk openly about our needs and what we need for a relationship, right? And it's being able to be comfortable enough to talk to your partner and saying, in this moment, this is what I need. It's having that lines of communication open. It's like, okay, maybe once a week, once a fortnight, we go out on a date together. I take you to the movies or a show, like still keeping that romance alive somehow. Because, and look, I don't have children. However, it's like before you were a mother and a father, you were a husband and wife, and you were boyfriend and girlfriend. And as that relationship evolves with children and marriage, you two also have to be able to communicate and evolve with that. And I think that's where some barriers do tend to break.
I agree. Totally. I have this question in my head. because I come from a different culture, though I've been living in Australia for many, many years. But I still date when I kind of connect back to my friends who are living in India. And there's this notion, right, where women are, it's generally dating is looked down upon. When I was growing up, when I was meant to be dating, or my siblings were meant to be dating, it was the worst thing ever you can do. So we were never encouraged to date, and we were the Indian families go through arranged marriages where the families arrange it for you. So you have a period of maybe 3 or 6 months to get to know each other, and that's it. Then you get married. I'm not saying that's bad. Maybe that's the tradition or whatever, but it never sat well with me. But thankfully, my family was not into it, so thank God. And but what I want to ask you is, what is the kind of notion, or what do people kind of generally think about people who are going through like separation, going through divorce, and people want to get back into dating? Because sometimes it's not highly encouraged in India, not in the open, at least no one talks about it. But what is it here like?
So if you're wanting to get back into dating after a separation, divorce, or a long-term relationship, like, do you mean like what does it look like, or
Yeah, like what does
how the
people,
best way? Yeah.
yeah, how do people kind of react to it? Do they look down upon you like, oh my God, like, or it didn't work, or they just encourage you? I just want to understand like what kind of
Yeah.
mindset people come with, yeah, in your experience.
Yeah, look, I don't think it's looked down upon, but I think it's also, again, what you make it make yourself believe about the situation. So if
Mm,
you've come out of a long-term relationship or a marriage, and then you're in your mid-40s or your 50s, for example, and you said, oh, no one's going to want me anymore, I've got baggage, or I'm too old, or whatever, right?
yeah,
Then that's what you're going to get,
yeah,
right? But if you go, okay, that didn't work for a reason, whether it be mutual or not, find the good in it, find the gratitude. We have beautiful children that we've raised. We have beautiful grandchildren. Again, whatever. I'm just plucking stories out here, trying
yeah.
to find what people could find gratitude for.
Mm,
It was like, then that's what you create. And there's like, okay, now I have this life. What couldn't I do in that relationship or marriage for whatever reason? I wanted to travel to Antarctica, for example. Okay, I'm going to go to Antarctica, and I don't think it's frowned upon at all. I think it's, oh, okay, that didn't work. And they had the courage to part,
yeah,
because I think it hurts more for the family and for yourselves if you stay in the relationship or you stay in a marriage just because you have children, just because we've built this home, just because people will think certain things, right? But it's like, it takes courage to do that, right? Because no children want to see their parents in an unhappy marriage.
yeah.
And I don't think parents should give that example to their children about this is what a marriage and relationship should look like.
Mm,
Because as children, we look up to our parents and we're like, oh, so, mum and dad are yelling, that's what a relationship should be like. So when
mm,
I grow up, that's what I'm going to mirror in my own relationship with my partner.
yeah.
And that's not healthy,
Yeah.
So it's like, again, it's like, I don't think it's frowned upon as a whole in Australia.
Mm,
It's what you make the story to believe about yourself.
yeah.
But again, when you go back dating, if I'm dating someone who's older, who's separated or out of a long-term relationship, I'd be looking for red flags. Like, are they ready? Are they ready to want what I want? I don't want casual. I don't want to hook up. I don't want to be the rebound person.
Yeah.
So me, as I'm out dating, I'm looking for that in someone who has that experience.
Yeah.
On the flip side, for someone who is just fresh out of a divorce or a long-term relationship, I think they need to, again, go back inwards,
Mm,
take the time to be like, why didn't that relationship work? How could I have contributed to that?
yeah.
What could I do better? What did I gain from that? Again, you go back to gratitude.
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, now what do I want now?
Yeah.
Because if someone just wants casual sex after that, totally fine. That's maybe what you need. And that's totally fine. But again, make it very clear from the get-go that that's what you're
Mm,
looking for.
yeah.
Not saying, I'm looking for a relationship straight after being divorced. We know that you're not, men or women. We know you're not looking for a long-term relationship after you've just been divorced for 3
Mm,
months. Like, you're just not in the headspace that someone
Yeah.
who's wanting an actual relationship would be,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And it's also knowing yourself, like knowing, what you want out of a partner, like how you need to be, how you need to show up. Did you show up
Yeah.
as your best self? Are you authentic?
Mm.
All of that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, that's a long answer to your question.
No, I think that was good. The reason I asked that question, sorry if it felt a bit weird, because there's so many cultural differences. And when
Mm,
I moved here to Australia, I was quite young, and kind of seeing that shift in culture, and I was amazed myself. And I'm like, that never happened there. And I'm like, we don't do things like that. I mean, I was able to adopt into this mindset because it was good. I mean, you don't have to care about what people think. It is your life. They're not living your life, but you need to make the choices
mhm,
for yourself that make you happy because it's your life. And that's what I kind of took from it. And I loved that mindset. And I loved how families are encouraging of that here. And I wanted to kind of hear that from you, because this podcast kind of goes out everywhere, and the people in India are listening to it. People in so many countries are listening to it. So I want to just, tell them that it's normal. You need to like
mm,
normalize things, normalize dating. And yeah, you wouldn't believe, when I was like growing up, like my friends would have like secret boyfriends because it was frowned upon to
yeah,
have, boyfriends. And it's a
mhm,
big deal. It's a big deal back there. But things are now changing. I'm seeing a lot of people are talking about dating openly now. Things are changing, but back then it wasn't the same.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, so people are coming out, and people are trying to, kind of open their eyes now, and
mm,
embrace and understand that the self-worth, I think. So, which
exactly.
is so important. Ugh,
Yeah,
okay.
because I also think that if you're wanting to spend your life with one person, right?
Mm,
So if someone wants to get married to that one person, that be their forever person,
yeah.
then I feel that that whole dating stage and getting to know someone, you're
Mm,
really going to know if that person is for you, right? Whereas if you don't have that opportunity to, how do you know, right? I don't think I could move in with someone in the first like month or two and get married to them straight away, you know,
mm,
because my parents had said, yep, it's okay. They're not me. They don't know who I am. I don't even know who I am, right? At that age, right? But
absolutely.
it's like you need to find out who you are, find out what you want, and find out if the person that you're dating is a good fit for you in your life long term. Like, how
Mm,
do you resolve arguments? How do you resolve conflict? You know what I mean?
yeah.
Do you have the same values? And that
Yeah.
all comes into it too. Like, values just can't be family and marriage. Like,
Mm,
for me, values go so much deeper than that. Right.
yeah.
So, and
Absolutely.
I would want, that dating stage to be like, is this person for me? Yeah.
Mm, agree.
Yeah.
So with how do you like stay grounded and inspired in your own journey of growth and empowerment?
Yeah. For me, I think it's just a daily practice for me. How I stay grounded, I literally go outside and ground myself.
Mm, just walk on the
And
grass.
I know that might sound really cheesy, but if you're
Oh,
spiritual and you understand what grounding is, it's bare feet on the grass,
yeah.
outside or at the beach, in the water, wherever on the sand. Because again, there's lots of energy, and we're all energetic beings, and especially with Reiki, I'm channeling and things. There's lots of energy happening, so I need to ground that.
Yeah.
But in terms of a perspective about not maybe to lose myself, or anything like that, it is to come back to the self-care practices.
Mm,
Like, how do I show myself care?
yeah.
How am I talking to myself? And then spending time with friends. We go out dancing, we go have cocktails, all the things that, single women would do. Um, and that really fills my cup because I
Mm,
have this really close knit of friends who, I believe I manifested. And it's just like we're soul sisters. Like, we've known each other for such a long time, and it's such a safe space, but it's also like really fun and exciting. And I love spending time with them. So
mm,
that also fills my cup and helps me feel grounded too.
yeah.
And again, I go back to Reiki and meditations and things like that. So in the journey of, dating, taking a pause on dating, meeting new people, It's like, yeah, filling your own cup first.
Yeah. Awesome. I know that we have been longer in this conversation than expected, Vanessa, but I think it was so interesting. So, and I have so many more questions for you. But I think if you can give us or give the listeners a few kind of tools they can use in dating, as in where they can go meet single men, what kind of platforms they can use, as some advice, and and if you could leave every single woman with one empowering message, what would it be?
Oh, that's a big question. There's a lot in that question. So the first part of the question about where to meet people, what platforms and things like that. For me, I deleted dating apps a couple months ago because I said that I wanted to go in-person events and meet people face to face. So whether that be speed dating or mingle events or like dinners, like roaming dinners around Melbourne, to connect with people face to face again, because I think that it's such an important way that you know if that person's right for you, instead of talking on an app for 1 or 2 weeks, meeting them and knowing that they're not for you.
Yeah.
So for me, I would encourage people to go to in-person events. It's funny because I recently collaborated with an event company who do single events. And again, it's like I said, I want to go to one in-person event once a month. And then I meet these guys at an event and they're like, oh, let's collaborate. And I'm like, what? So I'm like, this is strange, right? But again, it's like I know that I feel that I'll meet my person not on an app. It'll be in person out somewhere, right? But the more that I put myself out there, the more chances I would have. And it's not the be all and end all about how if I don't meet them that night, it's all over. It's like you put yourself out there. So you're not going to meet your person tucked up in your home, right? So it's like being brave and confident to put yourself out there because that will show, right? So I think if you do want to try online platforms, go for it. But really be aware of what your deal breakers are, what your standards are, and what your current beliefs about dating and men or women are. Because if you're saying that all men are shit or there's no good men out there because of your past experiences, you're still going to attract that.
Yeah.
So if that's what's in your mind, we have to reframe that. So create another affirmation about there are good men out there. Good men want to connect with me and I'm able to have conversations with them. Like along the lines of that, but make it true to you.
Yeah.
And the one bit of advice, I don't know if I've got one.
It could be two. It's fine.
I think the first thing would be that what is meant for you will not pass you by. And that is really trusting in yourself, God, universe, your higher power, whatever you believe in, that what is meant for you will not pass you by. And that's like you can't say the wrong thing to the right person, right? Yeah. Just to really be authentic in yourself when you're going on dates, like to come back to who you really are. And that doesn't mean that you're arrogant or, if they don't pull the chair out for you, you're like, oh, I don't like this guy. It's not about that at all, right? Yeah. It's just being yourself and being really feminine, being polite, and being yourself, because what will meant for you will not pass you by. But also in your time of being single, really enjoy it. Like enjoy the traveling, making decisions for yourself, doing whatever lights you up, becoming financially independent, because you may not meet your person, but that's totally okay. And a lot of people rely on the double income and all of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Financial independence, I think, is a massive thing that I'm seeing. And there are so many reasons why women should be financially independent before they meet a partner for various reasons. If they need to leave that relationship straight away or they're being disrespected. But if there is a side hustle that you want to turn, or a hobby that you want to turn to a side hustle to create more income or things like that, then go do it. Be independent for yourself, because you may not meet your person, but know that that's okay in itself. But then also know that when you ask for something big in life, the universe will shift things in your life and give you lessons to grow you to get to that level, right? So yeah, there was a lot in that. So I hope that helps someone out there.
That
Yeah.
is so powerful, so deep. Thank you so much, Vanessa. And everything that you've said has deeply resonated with me, and I wish that it has with our listeners as well. So again, thank you so much for coming on Sipping on Stories. I hope you had a lovely time kind of sharing and chatting away today. So
I did. Thank you very much for having me on. It's a blessing. It really is. Thank you.
awesome. Thank you, Vanessa. Enjoy Melbourne and stay cool.
I will. Thank you.